of Love and Legend, written and narrated by Vanessa K. Eccles. The quiet whispers of the wood lured me, promising safety in the familiar, comfortable enchantment of the creatures within. As I heeded its call, stepping into the soft, wet landscape of the forest's underbelly, my bow in tow, something struck me as wrong. It was too quiet, too guarded. Tensions swept around me, whipping hair from my braid, making my dress cling to my body. Everything a warning. A lightning strike shocked the nearby knoll, confirming my suspicion. "Gwen!" My little sister's voice echoed through the gray, a darkness that had always surrounded my life. I will never escape. Even being so far away, I still caught a quiver in her voice. Something was wrong. Something is always wrong. I stepped away from the wood, my beloved wood, the only place I found peace. It had been explained to me how important it was for me to marry, and fast. It wouldn't be long before I'd be too old to do anything, but I didn't feel old. I felt alive. The wood always revived me, stripping away that haunting numbness. I followed the winding path up the hill, reaching farther and farther into the gray sky. I hadn't a clue what could be wrong or why Morgan was calling my name. After a few minutes of walking, someone caught my eye at the edge of the wood. I was too far to know who he was. The villagers have always told all sorts of tales about the horrors that lurk in the forest, fairies and witches and such. I had a choice: go to Morgan or explore my curiosity. I let my feet and my heart decide what they wanted to do, like I always had before. I followed the figure. As soon as I returned to the wood, darkness enveloped me. Its cool, comforting arms embraced me. I followed the rustling of the leaves and the sound of the water. This wasn't a part of the wood that I had explored often, but I've walked along these paths long enough to know there wasn't a trace of water for miles. Not knowing who the person was, I decided to keep my distance. I didn't want him to know I was here. My mother had taught me how to creep, how to step with the softness of a lady, and listen with the keenness of a friend who was about to betray. It was a gift she had, one that had kept my father wondering for years how many of his secrets she'd uncovered. My best guess? All of them. As I stepped closer, I finally got a clearer look. It was a boy. Well, not exactly a boy, more like a young man. Possibly around my age, maybe slightly older, with striking blonde hair. Much to my surprise, I realized the forest I'd loved so much still had its secrets. Water did exist here. I approached the edge and stared at my reflection in the mirror-smooth surface. How do I not know about this? Has it always been here? I'd walked these woods countless times and never seen this. A clear blue pond stretched between the man and me. The moon peered down at us from the opening in the forest. Illuminated gemstones speckled the blackening sky. The moon was so big it could swallow us if it opened its mouth. I hid in the trees, not wanting him to know I was here. For a brief moment, I thought about Morgan calling me, and how often she'd called me back to our wretched home for something small and ridiculous. She probably wanted her hair braided or to practice a conversation she wanted to have with Landon, her new beau. I'd grown tired of responding to her every need. She was far too old to be minded by her sister. She could make her own decisions. Mesmerized, I watched as the man unexpectedly began taking off his clothing. He tossed his linen shirt onto a rock. Knowing I shouldn't be watching, I hesitated. I turned away only to find myself looking again. The flinching of his chest muscles made my breath catch. I couldn't stop watching, and when he began to unbutton his trousers, I found myself biting my lip, wondering how long I'd allow myself this guilty pleasure. No lady watches a man unclothed who's not her husband. No lady who knew someone was watching, that is. He doesn't know I'm here. No one knows. I bit my lip hard as he
Sample complete. Ready to continue?